This is BS with Joe.
Welcome.
So, we're going to talk about today is the Penn State, the Penn State or Pennsylvania Supreme Court
Yes.
approving the Illegal Enemies Act that Trump was trying to use to deport illegal aliens.
Basically, yeah, the Supreme Court of Pennsylvania has supported his right to use the 1798 law, the Alien Enemies Act, to
Right.
deport people that are known terrorists.
Well, illegal aliens.
No, it's actually known terrorists.
Known terrorists.
People that are involved with the Tren de Agua and MS-13, because Trump has already said that those are terrorist organizations and classified them as such.
Well, and they are.
Right.
And that's a good thing that he's getting them deported because they're going to create they're trying to create a crime syndicate here in the States,
Yeah, they are.
which is going to be a form of terrorism if they're not homegrown in a way,
Yeah.
because those gangs, what they have done to create the name for themselves is literally terrorism.
It is. Absolutely.
If you ever read any of the stories of some of the things that they have done to show, hey, this is our presence, this is our strength,
Yeah.
it's terrorism.
Yeah. They're worse than the Samoans.
Yeah, because if you go against us or if you go and talk to the police about us that you don't have anything about us, this is what we're going to do to you. That's terrorism.
Yep. Yeah, these are the guys beheading people and stuff like that. I mean, not.
Just like they did in the Middle East.
Yeah, exactly. So, the Alien Enemies Act of 1798, the whole purpose of it was to get seditionists out of the country.
And those were even citizens.
Yes, those were citizens.
Yeah, and that was in
1798.
1798. That was after our country has been founded.
Not that long after, yeah.
Yeah.
It would have been, what, our fourth president, probably?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Second or fourth president, because presidents back then, they didn't live as long, but
Right.
typically they would get reelected several times.
Right.
They could serve as many terms as they wanted back then.
Yeah. Well,
Because I think George Washington,
Washington served 2 terms.
well, yeah, 8 years.
Yeah.
And then I think it was John Adams after
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
And I don't know how many terms he served.
I don't think he only served 1.
Only served one?
I think so. He wasn't that popular.
No, I think he was a great. I like John Adams for what he had his opinions on,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't think he was radical enough. He was very liberal in a way.
He was.
He actually defended the British troops that started the Boston Massacre.
He did.
Fun facts. Little history that I know of. All right. So,
But yeah, so the Supreme Court in Pennsylvania has supported Trump's ability to use and incur the Alien Enemies Act to get these people the F out of here.
right, and the
And
detention.
Bill Clinton was the one that removed the requirement for habeas corpus or a hearing before they were deported.
Oh.
So the Democrats did that.
Yeah, they were.
And now they're complaining that they're not getting due process.
Right.
It was your party that
Well,
removed
and they're
removed the
also-
requirements for due process.
Right, and they're also raiding some of these.
Newark, New Jersey.
Yeah.
Yes. Two
There were
members,
riots and-
two members of the House of Representatives and the mayor of Newark, along with some protesters, stormed an ICE detention center and holed up in a guard shack until they were forcibly removed.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's going on at other ICE facilities in the U.S. as well.
Welcome to jail.
Yeah. But the thing is, depending on the state, they may or may not prosecute these individuals.
Well, what's happening with the Newark, New Jersey one? Because New Jersey's a fairly liberal state.
right.
What's happening there is Tom Homan has basically said, look, if you want to tour our facilities, you're welcome to come.
Yeah. Well, create a liaison to tour the facility with you.
You can even show up without an announcement and say you want a tour. We'll give you a tour. But don't storm our gate and take over a guard shack,
Right.
you morons. Because you're not trying to facilitate any kind of support for the system or check on the facility. No, you're trying to make a political stunt.
Well, not only are they trying, right, and that political stunt is also, I think, catching fire for actual activists.
Yeah.
Because I think certain activists are trying to do certain things to get in these facilities to try and break out these immigrants.
They're doing the same thing they did with January 6th.
Why aren't
The
they
Democrats are
considered-
inciting riots.
Right,
And that was Pelosi, by the way.
right. And so
I know that everybody wants to blame the Republicans and blame Trump for January 6th, but the Democrats caused it.
yeah. Not only that's the thing, they caused it to create a January 6th committee to then go after people
It
to
was a-
imprison them.
It was a political stunt.
And it's a political stunt,
Yeah.
and it's
And they were-
backfiring.
They were looking for an opportunity to create another Patriot Act.
Right. Well, and not only that, but they were looking at a way of detaining and imprisoning citizens indefinitely for any kind of reason, violating the Fifth Amendment and other acts.
Oh, yeah.
Because when Trump released all the January 6ers, there was some January 6ers that weren't even given their due process yet.
There were people that had been sitting in jail for 2 years and hadn't even seen a lawyer.
Yep. How is that fair? How's that your rights?
Yeah.
Any of those congressmen that supported that and made sure that happened shouldn't be in Congress.
I agree.
Because if they did that,
That's an ongoing thing. That Bondi and Patel are already working on it, and I know it's an ongoing process.
yeah, it is.
I'd hate to see how many boxes of files they have on that.
Well, and the thing is, not only do they have all these files, but are the files that they have, is it going to have any concrete information? Is it going to be redacted like the Epstein list that she had? And there's so much information she's trying to go through. Same with Cash Patel.
Yeah.
And they're probably having a team and an army of going through them. And the thing is, the best way for them to defend themselves from trying to have them prosecute them, to be honest with you, is give them as much information, as much whatever as you can to bombard them with time and resources to look into it.
Right.
That's the only way to save you from, if you committed a crime, to protect you from that crime.
Right.
Get it lost in the weeds of information.
And I kind of love how the left is complaining that I forget exactly what they called it, but basically the rapid fire of the executive orders. They're complaining about that.
Biden.
The fact of the matter is, Trump did it on purpose because, they're like, oh my God, I'm offended about that. No, wait, this is worse. Wait, what do I talk about?
Right. Everything he's doing is so bad and evil.
Yeah, according to them.
Yeah. One more thing I want to talk about was the economy and what's going on with tariffs.
Okay.
So, this will probably be the last one for the day. But with the economy and tariffs, so we have record soaring stocks in the stock market right now.
Well, after the China deal.
Yeah. Now, the China deal is really good. China's still going to charge us a 10% tariff.
Which is way lower than it used to be.
It's about what it was originally before we had this trade tariff war stuff
Yeah.
going on. This is before Trump's first term. It was 10%.
Okay.
And we're charging a 30% tariff.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that's good, but at the same time, there's still a detriment because we get so many more goods from China than they get from us currently. And also, the other thing that's really bad is China owns so much of our debt. And some of the interest is going to be due on those debts, and we're defaulting on them. So it's going to compound.
Yeah.
And so, with a good economy, and yet the people don't have the money for it, if we could reduce the interest rate that we'd be defaulting is less than what it is now. That's what we're also trying to do, is reduce the interest rate.
Right.
If we could reduce the interest rate with this tariff, we're doing good.
Mm-hmm.
But if not, it's more of a wash. because that tariff is just basically paying the interest that we're defaulting on.
Yeah. Well, we're getting there, is all I can say.
We're getting there.
The whole plan with the tariffs, it was a chess game.
Mm-hmm.
And we knew it. You and I both talked about it in the beginning. We knew what he was trying to do.
Right.
And I think they knew what he was trying to do. They were just freaking out that somebody in America was actually smart enough to figure it out.
Well, here's the thing. Pelosi and Chuck Schumer were both arguing and trying to get tariffs in the U.S. in the 90s.
I know.
And now they're against it.
Right. Obama talked about putting tariffs on.
Right.
Yeah. And I think Clinton did too.
Mm-hmm.
And now that it's actually happening, they're freaking out.
Right. And it's always been a thing that the Republicans hated tariffs,
Mm-hmm.
except for Rand Paul and Thomas Massey.
Reagan had tariffs.
Yeah, Reagan had tariffs. But tariffs are a good tool if they're used correctly, and it's like a leverage thing.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, if your tariffs are too high, no one's going to trade with you.
A tariff could have saved the U.S. steel economy.
Yeah,
You know,
could have saved the steel economy.
The steel industry died because steel was coming in from the Far East way cheaper than we could manufacture it here.
Mm-hmm.
And if there had been a 30-40% tariff on imported steel, Pittsburgh would still be alive. All those jobs would still be there.
Mm-hmm. Well, also the tariffs with Japan prevented a lot of the imports of Chinese-made cars.
Right.
They still imported, and they still imported a lot, but the tariffs kind of went away because I don't know why, trade negotiations. But Honda and Toyota produce more cars here in the U.S. than what they're importing
Right. Because of tariffs.
because of tariffs.
Yeah.
So it's not a bad thing.
No.
But also, when you don't have tariffs and your companies want cheaper labor, Ford and GM moved their factories outside of the U.S.
Right. Yeah. And Ford is doubling down on that. They're still moving people out instead of bringing jobs back.
Yep.
Whereas GM reopened a plant in Indiana,
Mm-hmm.
building trucks, I think.
Trucks.
Yeah.
Canik Firearms. It's a Turkish-made firearms, and Turkey's known for making janky shotguns, but they shoot, they work. And a lot of shotguns are made in Turkey. Some handguns are made in Turkey. The Canics are made in Turkey, but they opened up a plant here in the U.S.
Good.
So they're bringing some manufacturing here in the U.S. So with the barking dog, it's telling me it's the end of the show.
It's time.
So like, share, subscribe, leave a comment.